Audio log of Vanessa Shepherd, Entry 5. When I was a little kid, the state didn't really know what to do with me. I was sent to an orphanage when I was 2 years old, and I was identified as a biotic when I was 4. My powers weren't anything special, but as much as people may have wanted to adopt a little girl, as soon as they heard I was a biotic, they instantly looked the other way. And I don't blame them for it. Biotics were still a big mystery to us in the early 2160s. But when the 10th Street Reds found out about my biotics, they didn't look the other way. In fact, just the opposite. They couldn't wait to take me in. The Reds had been in business for a couple years when they visited the orphanage in Victoria, and they were looking for new talent that could do some odd jobs and help out with their volunteer work. I mentioned before that the Reds recruited children because it was good for their image as a committee, but they did it for another reason, which I found out later on from one of the founders. Kids were just easier to manipulate into doing what you wanted. Bring them up from poverty or homelessness, give them some meaning in their life, make them feel important, and they'll basically follow you to the ends of the earth. And I did, for a long time. They came to Victoria to find urchins, and they found a few kids that were willing to work with them, most of them around 8 years old, which was how old I was at the time. They wanted us to go with them to Vancouver, a place most of us had never seen before, and they promised us food, shelter, clothing, friends, everything we could have dreamed of. To say we were willing would be an understatement. I won't lie though, they showed preferential treatment for me because of my biotics. A little telekinesis goes a long way in providing a distraction when you need to escape from a secure building, But they backed up that preference by genuinely catering to the development of my biotics. They actually signed me up to get an L1 implant not long after they were released to the public, and paid for the entire operation out of pocket. I got them about a year after Kinetics first premiered them because the founders of the Reds wanted to make sure they wouldn't negatively impact me in any way before they invested in them. They took me to the hospital as my Christmas present in 2164. Most kids would have hated it. I saw the bill for the operation later on though, and I didn't really know what to say, other than thank you. No one had ever cared about me that much before in my life. It felt good. Really good. My first mission after the implant was installed was euphoric, I guess. I felt so much more powerful, so in control of my own body and the space around me that I don't really remember much of it, other than the thrill of it. The only downside was the headaches. My head felt like a ton of bricks when I got home from a mission. I suppose that was the price I paid for the power of the implant. The Reds gave me some medicine to control the migraines though, and it was very potent. In no time, it felt like the headache was never there at all, and there didn't seem to be any side effects to worry about. I found out later that the Reds had laced those pills with trace amounts of red sand to test its effects on me and a couple of the other biotic kids they had doing jobs for them. It was kind of a betrayal of trust that I had with the founders of the organization. They treated us like guinea pigs with this drug, but at the same time, they were cutting into their profits for us. They could have sold what they put into those pills to some junkie, but instead they wanted us to be at our best when we worked for them. And honestly, even to this day, I don't know how I feel about that. Remember my first audio entry when I told you about my big kid promotion? Well, it was only a couple years after I got the implant that they promoted me and had me teach the new urchins that they had flowing into the organization. That was a turning point in my life as well, though it wasn't for the better. But I'll save that until next time. It's a very vivid memory, one that I'll probably keep with me forever.